Hallo, herzlich willkommen zum neuen React auf dem Kanal, zusammen mit Apfel.
Hallo.
Heute schauen wir uns an How I Met Your Mother, Things You Missed Watching the Show. Ossa Movies ist, wenig überraschend, ist von Ossa Movies. Das kam schon vor 3 Jahren raus. August 2019. Krass. Ja, wir haben beide die Show gesehen und geliebt. Kann man hier irgendwas im... Ich habe das Regal nie angeschaut, aber hier scheint nichts versteckt zu sein. Scheint nichts Interessantes zu stehen. Egal. Wir schauen jetzt einfach mal rein. Ich bin gespannt, was wir wahrscheinlich verpasst haben.
You'll kick yourself when you realize you missed a huge hint that reveals the ending to How I Met Your Mother. And did you know that there was a real-life engagement on the set? More than that, the show is packed with secret messages, from the hidden meaning behind McLaren's pub to some special messaging buried in the theme song. Hi, my name's Peter.
Hi,
I'm going to
Peter.
share with you some moments that you probably missed while watching How I Met Your Mother. Do you remember that sweet girl from the first season that made the best cake ever? Her name was Victoria, and she was actually meant to be the mother of Ted's kids. Yes, that's right. Even as early as season 1, the directors of the show chose Victoria as a backup mother in case the show got cancelled early on after a few seasons. Well, as you can probably guess, that obviously didn't happen. So that
Wäre auch das
plotline was
Optimum
scrapped.
gewesen.
Although it is fun to think of the alternate universe and imagine how the show's finale would have looked if, say, Ted met the mother at the end of the first season. If so, we'd never have heard the yellow umbrella.
Wäre eigentlich schon krass
We wouldn't have had those
gewesen.
8 years of great laughs. So, I'm betting it isn't just the show's creators who are glad that How I Met Your Mother was an off-the-charts rating smash hit. Moving on, you almost certainly remember how the gang referred to some silly websites over the course of the show. Well, guess what? Every single one of them is totally real. Let's check them out right now. So, the first site would have been tedmosbyisAjerk.com.
Oh.
tedmosbyisAjerk.com.
A brief reminder in case you forgot. Barney wanted to pick up a girl and posed as Ted for fun. True to form, Barney ditched her after a one-night stand. Well, unfortunately for Ted, the story doesn't end there. The indignant hookup created the site in retaliation for Ted's, or, in reality, Barney's callous treatment, as a warning to let everybody know that Ted Mosby is a jerk. My favorite thing about this particular Easter egg is that the site actually lets you read the letter
als
Barney
ob.
wrote when he ditched the poor girl. The
Als ob.
letter itself
Wie geil.
is heartless but hilarious, especially when you discover that Barney says he can't ever meet the girl again because he's a ghost who returns once in a decade, on the condition that she remains in good shape. And fans may also remember another similar website that unsuccessfully tried to disprove the claims made by Barney's erstwhile one-night stand, which you can also find by following the link tedmosbyisnotajerk.com. What do you find when you visit this slightly flawed attempt at damage control? A list of less than convincing testimonies from the girls Ted once dated, as well as a story from someone called Victoria attesting that Ted Mosby is actually the sweetest guy ever.
Mit der Audio.
I suggest that you give it
Das
a
ist eine
look.
gute Frage.
Aside from being full of genius jokes, it also contains a well-crafted conspiracy theory which claims that
Als
the
ob
guy
es
who
diese
really
Seiten
did the
gibt.
show
Es
was
ist-
Ted, but
Ich liebe es, dass so viel Liebe hier in diese Serie gesteckt wurde und so viele kleine Details. Das ist so schön.
Heftig.
actually Conan O'Brien. You can also find a link for GoliathBank.com, where Barney, Marshall, and Ted all worked at one point. You can even open an awesome account with them. And
Was?
of course, who could forget Barney's VideoResume.com? No words are needed for this site, nor would any suffice. It very literally speaks for itself.
Was? Wie geil.
Okay, enough with the websites. Back to the show. Have you ever noticed how Marshall and Lily hardly ever kissed on camera? Well, true fans will immediately remember the most important main kisses throughout the course of the series, like when they got married, by which I mean all the times they got married. Once during their real wedding, once during their wedding in front of family and friends, and once when Marshall and Lily were married for 15 seconds off the coast of Atlantic City. Besides that, though, the two really don't share a kiss that often, and there's a very good reason for that. Turns out that Alison Hannigan was not a fan of Jason Segel's breath due to his smoking. Hannigan would often say that kissing a smoker is like kissing an ashtray. and so the writers tried to work around it. However, it seems that Siegel's smoking habit was the only vice that Hannigan couldn't stand about her on-air hubby, because otherwise the two of them became really close friends. And speaking about hubbies, 3 of the main cast spouses also starred in the show. Alison Hannigan's husband, Alexis Denisov, played the obnoxious Sandy Rivers. And do you remember this puppy dog-eyed character who took a job at a school cafeteria just to be close to Lily? Scooter was actually played by David Butker, the husband of none other than Neil Patrick Harris. And finally, Kobe Smulders also brought her spouse to the set. Taron Killam played the infamous Blauman. You might remember him as the guy who used to work at Goliath Bank with our guys, who even had a brief affair with Barney's brother James. And what else? Well, it was a real surprise for me when I found out that there was a secret countdown during one of the show's episodes. You probably remember that gut-wrenching scene when Marshall finds out that his father suffered a heart attack and didn't make it. Well, it turns out you can spot a countdown going from 50 to 1 on various inanimate objects in the background throughout the episode, anticipating the actual bad news that Lily revealed to everyone at the end. Fans were just as devastated as Marshall, and actor Jason Segel shared in that shock as he also didn't know what Lily's announcement would be until they were filming, an intentional move on the part of the show's creators in order to add realism to the tragedy. And there was
das war aber auch eine heftige Folge.
Concerning Marshall that can be found in the second episode of season 3. You all probably already know how obsessed Marshall is with Scotland's famous Loch Ness Monster, or, as Marshall loves to refer to it, Nessie. On Lily and Marshall's honeymoon, they tried to spot it, although you can clearly remember the results. Well, I was delighted to find a 10-minute video on YouTube purporting to be Lily and Marshall's honeymoon tape. And it is hilarious.
We both know that you're not trustworthy to keep watch. Last time it was Lily's turn to keep watch, she went into town to go to the bathroom. You can see
Was? Oh mein Gott, Alter.
To spot Nessie, which in turn ruins any romantic hopes Lily had for their honeymoon. Anyhow, the story of Marshall and Nessie has a happy ending, as we can see in the episode where we learn about the couple's death folders.
Ja, stimmt.
We get a glimpse into Marshall's future as an elderly man reading Lily's secret letter of love, and if you look closely enough, you can see a newspaper article framed behind him that reads, "NYC lawyer catches Nessie." Oh, what a relief. Another thing that's great about the show is that they really deliver on small promises made throughout the series. Like the episode with the slap bet. Well, as the story goes, Barney could either be slapped by Marshall 10 times in a row, or 5 times whenever Marshall decided he wanted to. Sure enough, Barney chose the latter. Well, as the show goes on, Marshall later acquires more free slaps, saying that he'll just, save those bad boys, you know, for a rainy day. The final slap from Marshall came on Barney's wedding day, which, as you may remember, was indeed very rainy. And now, it's time to eat some sandwiches. Ted introduces the concept of using the term eating a sandwich as a metaphor for smoking marijuana.
Das war auch so ein geiler Move.
Characters are seen in the series literally eating sandwiches. What's more, a full season before this explanation, in the episode How Lily Stole Christmas, we hear a story involving Lily eating a sandwich in college. You can also spot a neighborhood teen who eats a sandwich at Marshall's house in season 7. And in the season 9 episode, Mum and Dad, we see a Rastafarian man eating a sandwich on the beach.
Das ist eigentlich so geil.
Ja.
Das haben die wirklich gut gemacht.
Definitiv.
By millions of people by now. It turns out the most famous part of the intro is taken from the end of a song by a band called The Solids. And what's more, both of the show's co-creators were actually in the band that sings the theme song. While the group hasn't put out any new music since the early 2000s, this famous part from the song Hey Beautiful can still be heard by How I Met Your Mother fans around the world. Now, let's talk about the place where our friends spend most of their time together when they're not lounging around their apartments. I'm talking, of course, about McLaren's Pub. The fictional location was, in fact, named after one of the show's associate producers, Carl McLaren. And to make the link even more explicit, the creators came up with a bartender named Carl. However, the real conceptual idea of the pub comes from New York City's famous McGee's Pub. Let's continue counting off hidden details. In the season 9 episode, The Rehearsal Dinner, the gang spends some time making jokes about Canada to bug Robin. To show just how many jokes they managed to come up with, and imply the passage of time, we see a couple in the background whose lives progress throughout the scene.
Bin ich gespannt.
The guy proposes, the girl gets pregnant,
so.
their kid graduates college, one of them even died. Take a look if you don't believe me. Or if you just want another excuse to revisit your favorite show and spot it all on your own. And there was even a real-life engagement on set. According to the New York Daily News, Yana Rugan and Timothy Russo really got engaged in the season 2 episode that was appropriately enough titled Something Blue. Russo's friend wrote for the show and arranged for the couple to stand in as extras since it was Rugan's favorite series. In the episode, Robin and Ted are on a date when the waiter mistakenly brings Robin a champagne glass with a ring at the bottom. She freaks out, and so does Ted, since he's not actually proposing. Then, Russo came over to claim the ring and proposed to Rugan. At first she thought I was messing up the scene, then it dawned on her and she started crying and everyone was clapping. It was
What?
Als
Go to the
ob.
Daily News about this special moment. And now,
Wie heftig.
finally,
Das ist richtig krank.
show's
What the
finale.
fuck?
I hope you've all watched the show because otherwise you're gonna get a huge spoiler. So here's your chance to skip
Oh.
ahead. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Oh,
Verdammt.
Ready? So, here it is. It looks like we all got a pretty major hint that the mother would die before the show revealed this sad turn of events. Let's look closely at the episode from Season 8, The Time Travelers. At the end of the series, future Ted states that if he could relive the events of that night, he would have visited his kid's mother. Future Ted imagines knocking on the mother's apartment door and telling her that they will meet in 45 days, and that he'd have given anything to spend those 45 extra days with her, and that he will continue loving her even after he dies. Now, the words themselves seem overly dramatic without any obvious reason. And why would Ted recount all of this with tears in his eyes, desperately counting the extra days he wants to spend with Tracy if she's going to be his wife for a lifetime? Well, you already know the answer, because it really is a lifetime, but maybe not as long as either of them might have hoped. Did you manage to guess the show's finale after that particular scene? Or was it still a shock for you? Are there any
Das war's schon.
Easter eggs and hidden hints that I missed? Share with us in the comments below. I was Peter, you were you, and as always, thanks for staying awesome.
Dieses Ende. Oh Gott. Ja, aber krass, Alter.
Heftig.
Vieles davon wusste ich gar nicht.
Ich
Ja,
wusste gar nichts davon.
ich wusste auch nur das mit Nessie. Weil ich das schon mal, glaube entweder ich habe es schon mal gesehen oder ich habe es in der Folge gesehen. Keine Ahnung.
Damn,
Aber krass. Das ist
Heftig.
eigentlich wichtig, die Serie nochmal zu rewatchen.
Oh ja, eigentlich schon.
Ja, gut. Dann lasst doch ein Like und ein Abo da, wenn es euch gefallen hat. Schaut auch bei, wie hießen sie? Ossa Movies vorbei, um das Originalvideo zu sehen. Und haut rein und tschüss.
Ciao.